They are. Welcome back to LowCountry Live. Charleston is a service industry city, and from restaurants to tour guides, it can be overwhelming on how to tip.
And as many of you know, I'm a past food and beverage worker, so a bad tipper can ruin your whole night. Here to talk tipping etiquette is the Charleston School of Protocols, Cindy Grosso. This is not enough. Hi, welcome back.
Good morning, good morning.
And we're talking tips. You know, I overheard someone recently on the radio say she didn't tip her hairdresser and she didn't tip her manicurist. How do you not?
How do you not is right. Well, you know, tip, actually the word tip, by the way, comes from a time in England back before the mail service. They would have like a courier service. And you would give the courier a few, whatever, monetary, and it would be to ensure promptness.
Yep.
T-I-P, to ensure promptness. And that's where the word tip comes from. So it really is a gesture for service well done.
And with all the restaurants that are throughout Charleston, that's a huge thing.
It's huge. Tipping is huge. Pretty much any industry, tipping is huge. A lot of people depend on it. There was a poll done recently by abcnews.com, and it said that 67% of people surveyed tipped between 10 and 15% for service.
Well, as we know, Ryan would just go, oh, I'm not going to even serve you food. What is a good rule of thumb so far as if you're in a restaurant downtown Charleston, one of the nicer restaurants, and you've been served and your bill's $100?
Right.
Okay.
It's pretty much, you know, the tipping rule is between 10 and 20%. And I always try to go 20, sometimes even 25% if I've had really good service. But it's pretty much, if you can stay in that 15 to 20% is where I suggest, and I do suggest, if you said name one, I would say 20%.
I've got a couple of friends that start off at 20% at the beginning of the meal.
And they knock points down.
And it could be knocked off throughout the day, throughout the evening.
Yes, I've even heard people say that they don't tip at all if it's really not good service.
And people, the restaurant workers are making $2 an hour.
Wow.
And, you know, and then by tax time that comes out and you really don't get a tip, so people think that, you know.
Well, you also penalize the server, and sometimes it's not the server's fault.
Right, it could be the kitchen's fault.
Absolutely. So I don't agree with that. If you're going to, you know, reduce the tip a little bit because of really bad service, maybe, but not no tipping. I'm not from that school. I don't believe in that.
Say if you've got a carriage ride downtown Charleston, you own Palmetto, one of the carriage companies, and the tour is $18 to $20.
Right.
Lots of times they accept tips at the end of the tour.
Absolutely.
15, 20% as well?
Absolutely. I would probably go on the 20%. And there's no, you can go as high as you'd like. There's not really a limit as to how much. If somebody does something special or there's special treatment, you may go a little bit higher. If you frequent a restaurant a lot, you may go a little bit higher because, you know, it's an establishment that you are establishing a relationship with.
Yeah,
so
I've seen people do that at about 25–30%. They will tip, and the next time they go into the restaurant, I was with them.
They tip 5?
Well,
no, they get wonderful service.
Wonderful
yeah. I thought you were saying
we've got your table waiting for you. Oh yeah, it's just
absolutely,
we got
absolutely. But one thing that's kind of interesting is that it was sort of a question that I had, and it was, do you tip on the total bill? Or how do you tip? So if you walk into a restaurant, you have dinner for two, you look at the bill, you add 20%. Is that the proper tip?
Well, you know, I look at it this way, that usually the servers have to tip out the bartenders and the busboys, so you tip at the total bill. That's the way I look at it.
Right, and a lot of people do. But technically, actually, the tip is calculated before the tax. So it's, again, an appreciation for a service rendered, not the tax.
And finally, like I was talking about earlier, us women, we get our hair done, our nails done, and, you know, that's the same amount, 15 to 20% for those people who work on you to make you look good.
Absolutely. And it was an old rule that you didn't tip the owner. People don't really pay attention so much to that anymore, so I suggest that you do.
Especially if you're taking ladies on a date, make sure you tip.
That's right.
Gentlemen. Well, thank you, Cindy, and we appreciate that. I'm sure all the servers out there that are watching right now are very happy about this. Thanks. And for Freebie Friday, last week, Cindy taught us the proper way to drink tea. Well, the fourth caller is going to win a gift certificate to the new coffee shop, Beaners. They have great tea and great coffee.
And coming up, we'll take a look at Chef B from Rococo's.